Nick, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're back. I also somehow I
All right.
lost you when I brought you in the first time. Well, I'm waiting for some more
Yeah, I
folks
don't
to
know what
come on.
happened.
Wait, some more folks to come on. People
Okay.
requested that I bring you on since I'm mentoring. My conversation was turned to mentoring of my children. So this will be a first time for people to hear from your own mouth as to the impact of what my mentorship has done for you and the impact of what you learned in the process. So maybe other kids could be affected. You have a you have much to say. I'm trying to wait for some more people to come on board. I know it's late, but regardless, we're going to get started so that I can either share it in a recorded format. That'll be okay. But remember back in the day when I introduced you and your sister to the book, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so using that book, one of the things I wanted to do with you, I had both you and your sister read the book chapter by chapter, and then I had you take notes, and then we talked about how it was going to affect your life. All right, that was pretty powerful.
Hmm.
All right, um, can you talk about the aspect of reading the book and what it did for you by me asking you to see how you could apply it to your life, even though you were very young at that point? You still began to apply it. Can you talk about how you used it to affect your life in the beginning?
Yeah. Well, like in the beginning, I remember my father. He recommended that, or actually, he had me and my sister Olivia read a book called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, and it was like a really good book. And I remember I was just like a little child when we read it, and it pretty much affected my life. How always kind of had an ambitious side to me, but it just didn't come out in the right ways. And pretty much the way that happened was I read the book. My dad made us take notes on it, and when I would see the notes that he written out, that he had seen the notes that I had written down, he would ask us to expound on that, and we expound on them. And mine was like you have to work a lot harder, and you have to I'm pretty much the integral part of all of it is work. You have to be willing to put in your absolute best and do the best that you absolutely can, and you will receive your blessings from that.
All right.
So
Well, I'm gonna take you back because people are just finding out really who you are. I mean, you're like a rock star, right? So let me take you back to where you were before all of this, where your life, what your life was like as a youngster, be it when you were overweight, when you were being bullied. Can you take us through where you were?
yeah, um, well, I started off as I was really overweight, and I was probably about maybe fifth, sixth grade, and I was getting bullied in school. Like I had mediocre grades, like B's and C's, and very shy, like lower confidence, like pretty much lower everything, except I weighed a lot more. And so pretty much like with the help from my father, I was able to shed about 50 pounds, and I was a toothpick then, which is stark contrast to what I was before. And he showed me the correct exercises to do, like put on muscle, and the diet and nutrition and all that had to happen. And I put on about 80 pounds in about 5 years. And I started. You all know the story pretty much from there, but I pretty much started off from just that chubby dude in school.
So you were muscular from the beginning.
Oh no, no, you would have walked past me and just said that dude's just fat. You just walk. That'd have been about the end of that. So.
What was your endurance level then?
Oh, I couldn't even. I remember we used to have these. I just wrote about it in my paper. We had to have these. Uh, uh, um, for PE every morning, we would have to run around a track, and I think it was like a mile or so, and we run around it, and I never could get to the end of it without heaving, sweating, and like my other classmates, they would like go all around it like no problem. And I couldn't fathom how, somebody could keep running for that long until I was able to achieve that. So,
Okay, so now did the books that you were began to read and the personal development that you began to become involved in, did that impact you in a positive manner?
oh yeah. Um, it always gave me pretty much something to fall back on. Like, if I find myself struggling, I could be like, okay, well, the book said, you have to change your thinking. Or like if I was struggling with something else, like I could fall back on like a Darren Hardy book, like the 10x rule, which is expound like everything that you're doing 10 times what you normally would do it to get 10 times more of the results. And I would just think back to something like
I'm
that.
gonna stop you right there because I'm gonna make a slight correction to what you just said. The 10x rule does in fact say that, but that book was written by Grant Cardone. That particular book.
Oh, my,
Okay.
my fault. Yeah, I said Darren Hardy. It was Grant Cardone. That was my fault.
Okay. So the books helped you. I mentored you to read books like that, to come up with plans for your life. Um, how did I utilize you in regards to teaching your sister how to read?
Okay. Well, basically, like, I didn't know how to read at first, and I was in kindergarten, and my father, he taught me how to read, and then everything that he taught me, he would pretty much walk me through teaching that to my younger sister. So I was able to teach her how to read based upon what he had taught me how to read when I didn't know how to read to begin with at all.
Yes, I remember at the time that I went to your class, and both teachers, your speech therapist as well as your teacher, didn't believe you could read. And then I turned to you and said, "Hey, boy, read that right there." I grabbed one of your textbooks and I said, "Read that right there." And you read it so fluently, they were like, "Oh my God, he can read." I said, "Yeah, I know he can read. I taught him." And that changed everything. I had you come home, and if you remember, I had you read to your sister nightly. I had you check her homework before I checked her homework. That, what did that do for your confidence?
Oh, it boosted my confidence because it helps you to be able to not only take care of yourself, but also take care of, someone that's close to you, like your sister, or for, someone besides yourself. So, being a little kid, particularly when you do something like that, it also can help you because, that's an integral time where you're trying to learn how to help yourself and help others.
So now you went from being overweight by 50 pounds, you lost weight, then you put on, what is it, 83 pounds of muscle in 5 years.
Yeah,
Then you got involved with playing the guitar. All right. And then you learned to play the guitar and you play it very well now. And people thought that you were on steroids. People thought that you were always muscular. People had all these preconceptions about you, but which were not accurate. So after that,
very.
I mean, you were like 15 and you became a certified lifeguard, just to add insult to injury, knowing where you came from when you were obese. Let's face it, you were obese, okay?
Mhm.
Then you lost weight. Then you put on muscle in the process. And by the time you were 16, I said, this boy right here, he can really do something. I can tell. I could see your chest and your back. It was phenomenal. So we know where you were, okay? Tell us today, as a result of being mentored by your father, where you are today in the scheme of things. What are you doing now? What impact has been made on your daily life in all capacities, spiritually, mentally, financially, physically, where you are right now?
Okay, well, I can tell you. Um, well, basically, I would say the most important thing that has changed, I would say, would be my mindset because many people don't realize that if this doesn't change, your body, your finances, your spiritual, everything else will stay the same. So I would say probably from that perspective, definitely my mindset first, and then I would say as far as the actual tangible physical things that I have, well, I'm obviously a lot bigger now. Um, I've also I've been in college coming on 3 years in college, and I'm a junior. And I make great, in my classes. I'm always like my teachers always giving me accolades from, we just did a presentation. And I had several of my classmates. They commended me on my speaking and said it was nice and fluent. But like pretty much, it's basically I'm also a lot better guitarist. Pretty much everything that I was already had worked hard to get to when I was 16 and 15 and 14. I'm pretty much just reaping the blessings of all those things that I was sowed with my mindset back then. So my message to anybody that is coming from a hard like experience with a broken home or the whatever you're coming from, if you can change this, you'll get there's literally nothing you won't be able to accomplish. And I was blessed to have my father to be able to show me all those things. But if you don't have anybody else tell you, like coming from me, like I know where you're coming from, it can be there's nothing you can't accomplish if you change your mindset.
Well, I appreciate that, son. Folks, what we're doing is I'm having an interview with my son because I'm going to institute a process, and I'm going to be doing these videos. I'm going to break down how I was able to teach my son and my daughter to be better human beings, better in school, better mindset, better physically, better mentally, better across the board. And I did certain things that some other parents might not have done. I think a little bit outside of the box, but it impacted them. So I would say once you go back and watch the beginning of this video and the further part of this video, please share this video with other people. Please, please share it, because there are kids out there that are not following the right folks. There are parents
That's
out there
right.
that may not be exuding the right example. Maybe they're not even doing anything with that. They're figuring that the school's going to take care of their kids. They figure that the media or the celebrities that the kids look up to, or the sports figures that kids look up to, are going to impact their children in a positive way, so that they'll make money doing that, which is what they may only care about. But in the process, they may not be able to develop, their kids may not be able to develop a strong mindset, which is everything, which enables them to be everything. So we now know where you came from. You were a fat kid, being politically blunt. You got
Yeah.
skinny, then you put on muscle, then you played the guitar, and you play for your church too, don't you?
Yes, I do. I have. It was actually the first month I came here. They wanted me to be their guitarist.
Okay, so you play for your church. You're a lifeguard. You're also an artist. Now,
Yes, I
who influenced you to be an artist?
uh, excuse me.
Who influenced you to be an artist?
Oh, well, for all of you who don't know, my father is an artist, and I remember being a little kid, I'd see him. He had a sketchbook, and I'd just go through the sketchbook and look at the different sketches and be like, man, I want to draw that one day. Being 5 years old, your brain is not even developed enough to do that, but I try anyway, and it always come out a whole bunch of scribbles on a piece of paper. But it was actually, I would say, art would be the first talent I culminated as a child through hard work. So then I'd pretty much just draw every day. And by the time I was 8 years old, I could actually draw something. But
Yeah,
that's
you've done
just
some.
a fun
You
fact.
did some pretty. You did some pretty cool portraits. I would agree with that. You did some pretty cool portraits. So you have a very heavy creative side to yourself. Some people are more. They use the other side of their brain. You definitely use the side of the brain that involves creative activities. Um, so we know where you were. We know where you are. Where are you going? What's next
Where am I going?
what's next for
I'd
next?
probably say it's probably the most important. I plan on going currently getting my bachelor's in exercise science with a clinical concentration, and from that I'll either go to physical therapy school or I'll go to medical school. As of right now, I'm leaning more towards medical school. But if I cannot get into that for any God forbidden reason, then I will go into physical therapy school. And from there, I will spend probably about 6 years getting my postgraduate degree in that. And um, I don't really look at money as far as saying I want to make $1 million a year or 2 million. I don't really look at that. I mainly focus on making sure it's something that I enjoy doing and providing the best for my family at that time and living out my life to be the best example I can.
Well, you certainly are. You're certainly off to a good start, son. Um, Folks, mentorship should come, in my opinion. This is my opinion. This is Jim Saunders speaking, or the people like to call me James now. This is James Saunders speaking. It needs to come from one's parents. My goal is to have my kids wearing a sweatshirt that says, mentored by my father. My goal is for me to walk around with a sweatshirt on that says, mentored my son, mentored my daughter, because I want to be the original mentor, okay? Not the secondary, not the tertiary. I want to be the original. And I think that if I'm able to do that, I can pass on what I've done, because this was just the first step. Me having my children, like Nick, read the book, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. You need to read that book. It's a good book. Was the first step in being able to communicate with them on a higher level. Because a lot of folks don't read. They don't like to read. And if you don't like to
No,
read, then consequently you may have a problem being able to write cohesively. Okay? You got because there's one thing in this world that you have to be able to do. You have to be able to communicate. I mean, communication is everything. You go for a job interview, you got to be able to communicate. You start a business, you got to be able to communicate. You start a relationship, you got to be able to communicate. You talk to your dad, your sister, your mother, your father. You got to be able to communicate. If you can't communicate, then you got a problem. Reading, it's been stated that if a person read a book every week, you read one book a week, which is phenomenal to be able to do. That would be 50 books a year, give or take, 52 books a year. You know how much knowledge you would have in a year doing that? How powerful that would be? Even if you did 10% of that, you wouldn't be doing bad. So reading is very important. That's why I started off with the reading assessment at the other live I did, talking about that I had my kids read a book and they were taking notes from it, and we discussed how they were going to use components of the book for their life. And my son just expounded on that and how it's impacted him. So you would say overall, son, was that a good idea for me to have you read The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy?
I would say so. At the time, being a kid, I didn't really see the point in it. But as I grew up and I had more life experiences, it definitely came in handy.
How has it affected? Well, I can tell you. One day I walked into my son's room when he stayed with me, because I knocked on the door. I said, "Son, where are you at, man?" I go in there. He's on his knees. He's praying on his knees. And you'd been there probably for the better part of 35, 40 minutes, just praying. How did you develop that type of tenacity in prayer uh, at that time?
I would say it's purely about those who mentor you. Like, I think a lot of people, they don't see spirituality as an important part of their life, even though studies have shown that people who are spiritual live longer than people who are not spiritual. And to me, I just believe in a personal relationship with God. I don't step on anybody else's religion, but I just for me, and that's the Christian God. And I found God to help me throughout virtually anything that I'm going through, and He can help anybody else, no matter what they're going through, in all the other areas that we talked about: financial, spiritual, relationships. Even if you're trying to lose weight, it doesn't help to pray. And I would say my father and my grandfather was the ones that really pushed the spiritual part and got me into doing that.
Okay, so it's benefited you, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's good. Um, I will tell you that, folks, I'm doing something very special here. People were asking me to get my son on this live to converse with him to see if there was an impact for me actually mentoring him. I think you would both agree that there was an impact. There has been an impact. I expect great things from Nick over the next several years. Um, you write down action plans now. You post stuff on bulletin boards. You got your dream boards. You write down goals, dreams, and aspirations and objectives. Is that your daily practice now? Is that your monthly practice now? How often do you do that?
Oh, I would say it's monthly. I actually have a board up in my den that has all of my goals that I want to accomplish for the month on it, and a date by which I will accomplish them. Because one of the things that I actually learned in one of the books that my dad had us read was, if you don't, I believe it was by Darren Hardy. If you don't write down a date for what you will accomplish your goals by, it's just a dream. So I picked that up, and I've been doing that ever since I came to most of what I've came to college, and it's really helped me because it keeps everything in perspective, and it just because something about when you write something down is just more powerful than when you just keep it floating in your head. So
That is so true. That is so true. It's going to take you a lot shorter period of time to get your bachelor's degree than it took me to get mine. It only took me 40 years to get mine. But it'll take you a lot shorter period of time. And what I did in reference
yeah,
to my goals that ties into what you're saying is whenever I have a goal, I first put down, okay, I got a goal. For example, my goal for getting my bachelor's degree at the time, I put down I want to get a bachelor's degree. Then I put down why do I want to get this bachelor's degree? That was the next step. Every goal that I ever have, I always put down why. Then after I put the why down, which makes me, I can identify with the goal that I have, I can feel good about it, I can embrace it, I can just wash myself in it. Then I put down the steps of how I'm going to get it done. So my steps for my bachelor's degree was, okay, I got to take some classes, I got to do the assignments, and I got to go ahead and be consistent, do my reading and everything. Then I had to put down by what date I wanted to have the bachelor's degree done. I put down I wanted to have it done by November 1st of 2016. Lo and behold, on October 31st, 2016, I completed my bachelor's degree. So writing stuff down and having the steps and the why intermingled with the suspense date to get it done is the way to go for goals. And that's what I taught you, and that's what you're using. That's why you're so successful. Um, what's the last thing that you can say to people that they should be looking to their parents for mentorship versus another outside source?
well, um, I would say, assuming that you are going to listen to your parents, but I guess that's a whole nother video if you're not that type. But if you are trying to listen to your parents, I would say probably the most important is really all of it. I mean, because if you, if it could, because if like, if you, I would say, yeah, I mean, just all of it. Like, you have to know about how to set your goals. You have to know about how not to give up. You have to know about how that you have to just keep on pushing through. And I really couldn't narrow it down to see which ones are more important because I would say the most important of all of it, I would say, is the spiritual, because all of the things come from that. That's just my personal opinion. But I would say second to the spiritual, I would say the most important is your mindset because if your parents aren't able to teach you like how to control this, then even in my short 20 years on this planet, I know that every decision that I made, good or bad, had a thought behind it. So you have to, your parents have to teach you just the art of controlling your mindset and being able to make good decisions.
Very good, son. I have a plan of doing seminars on this content for parents to be the mentors of their children. Do you think it's a good idea?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And do you think that maybe kids could be along with their parents at these seminars? Do you think they would be impacted as well?
Well, I think that would be a phenomenal idea. Yeah, because they definitely need to be there to witness all of this.
So let's say you had a child today. Not that we're having you have one.
God forbid.
Let's say you had a child today.
Far from that, but
What what aspects would you utilize? What would you do to mentor your child?
I would pretty much first I would focus on what it is that my child did well. And then after that, I would focus on the weaknesses and see what things that they needed improvement with. And I would pretty much start trying to build their weaknesses up and let them know that they can do whatever it is they need to accomplish. So, for example, if they had a problem with walking, like some children do, I would get the necessary doctrine. If I couldn't do that, then I would do research and I would find out how to help them be able to walk or whatever it is that they needed to have done. And I would pretty much just attack it as from a preventative standpoint of making sure, you cover certain things like, you don't steal and stuff like that. And I would mentor my child into just trying to be the best version of themselves, not what I wanted, but what they wanted to be the best of themselves.
And that's what's critical, because some people think that I forced you guys to read the books. I forced you to think the way that you think. I forced you to lift weights. I forced you to eat right. I forced you to be spiritual. I forced you to do things. Did I force you to do these things, or was it of
Oh
you?
no, no, it was of my own volition. I would say no. Like, I mean, first of all, nobody can really force you to do any of those things, even if you live in a totalitarian house. So that argument of forcing, you really can't do that to a child anyway, because once a child grows up, they're going to choose to do whatever it is that you taught them to do. My father never forced me to do anything. I chose to wake up early in the morning to go to the gym. I chose to, spend hours playing my guitar. I chose to study when my parents are out partying. I chose to do all those things. So
How do you compare to your friends? What are their mindsets? If you had to sum up the good, the bad, the ugly in regards to their mindsets versus your mindset.
I would say my friends, they meant the best, but it came down to they were raised in a different environment than what I was raised in. So many of them didn't come from an environment of your parents making you read or your parents, really pouring out their love into you. They came from more of your hard knock environment. So their mindset was more of, I'm not, and I'm not, I'm not getting down on them or anything, but it was more of a, I'm going to do what I got to do, but I'm not really going to go above and beyond, or I'm not going to be the absolute best that I can be in what I'm trying to accomplish. And that's just not who I am. That's not who I was raised. And I tell people all the time, be the best that you can be at whatever it is that you're doing. So that was pretty much how my mindset differed a little bit from theirs.
Okay, but we've been on here quite some time. I want to cut it short. I just want to tell people, please pass this video on. If you haven't watched it from the beginning, please watch it from the beginning, because this was an opportunity for me to have my 20-year-old son on here and on this live with me as I'm talking about mentoring one's children. I'm going to speak to his sister in the future so I can have her as a special guest as well, because I want to get that female perception, that female outlook, that female sharing, so that those young teenage girls that can hear what she has to say may be impacted. I wanted to make sure I impacted the spiritual, which Nick is super, super spiritual. I wanted to impact the creative part of him, being an artist, being a musician, being an academic. I wanted to get all of it. I think I've successfully done that. Son, I want to thank you for being on here with me. I want you to
Oh, I
keep
enjoyed it.
I want you to keep up the good work. And folks, understand that one of the reasons that how I use Facebook, how I use social media, I don't see a lot of this with parents putting their kids on a live and sharing their kids' accomplishments live. Maybe because their kid's not doing anything, I don't know. Maybe because they won't. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Maybe it could be. Maybe they're dealing with privacy issues. I don't know. But I'd rather have my son on a live with me than post about a fight or some political nonsense or some strife or some negativity. Everything I post is always positive, and I can't think of a better positive source of inspiration than my own flesh and blood, my son. So please pass this video along. Please understand the nature of where it's coming from. I'll be doing some more. I got some more for y'all, and we'll
Oh yeah.
we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot, son. Have a good night. Thanks everybody for joining in.